It was on a quiet Sunday morning in late October that the town of Wren's Hollow first noticed the girl in the window. She appeared suddenly, like a shadow that hadn't been there the day before. The old, whitewashed house on Sparrow Street had sat empty for years, its windows dark, its porch sagging under the weight of time and rot. But now, behind the second-floor curtain, a pale face peeked out, wide eyes staring blankly at the street below. At first, people thought it was a trick of the light. Then maybe a squatter, or someone restoring the house. But there were no contractors, no moving trucks, no signs of life, except for the girl.
Her name was Leela. She was 8 years old, with hair like tangled ash and eyes the color of the sky after a storm. No one knew how she got there, not even Leela herself. She remembered only bits and pieces. The smell of smoke. A screaming march in the dark. A woman's voice whispering, "Be still, baby. I'll be right back." But the woman never came back. Leela had woken alone in a strange house with creaking floors and boarded-up doors. There was no food, no light, no company, only silence and the quiet rustling of mice in the walls. The only thing she had was a faded teddy bear with one eye and a broken music box that no longer played.
Days passed, then weeks. Leela survived on instinct. She found stale crackers in an old cabinet, rainwater in a cracked bowl on the porch. She didn't cry often. She had learned long ago that tears didn't change things. Instead, she watched from the window, hoping someone would see her. And someone did.
Mrs. Callahan, who lived across the street, saw the flicker of movement one morning as she sipped her coffee. The curtain swayed, and a small hand pressed against the glass. Startled, she set down her cup and squinted. The figure disappeared. Later that day, she mentioned it at the market. "There's a child in that old house. I swear on my good hip." People scoffed. Some laughed. But then Mr. Levin, the mailman, said he too had noticed something, a shadow moving upstairs, a soft thud near the back door. The rumors spread fast in Wren's Hollow, where nothing ever happened and everything was noticed. But no one knocked. Not until Grace did. Grace was 17, with a voice like summer rain and a stubborn streak longer than the river that curved through the town. She'd grown up listening to ghost stories about the house on Sparrow Street, how it was cursed, how no one stayed there long, how strange sounds came from the attic. But Grace didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in truth. And she believed she had seen something real. So on a gray Thursday, with a backpack full of granola bars and a flashlight, she walked up the steps of the abandoned house and knocked. Nothing. She knocked again. "Hello?" she called. "My name's Grace. I saw you in the window." A pause. Then, ever so softly, the sound of footsteps. The door creaked open half an inch. 2 blue eyes stared out. Grace crouched down, hands open. "Hey there. I'm not here to scare you. Are you okay?" The girl didn't speak. "I brought snacks," Grace added, holding up a granola bar. A moment later, the door opened a little more, and the girl reached out with quick fingers, Leela snatching the bar from Grace. The door clicked shut. Grace smiled. She came back the next day. And the day after that. Slowly, the door opened wider. Leela stepped out one morning, barefoot and shivering, her teddy bear clutched to her chest. She didn't say a word, but she sat beside Grace on the porch and listened as she read stories out loud, from picture books and fairy tales to pages torn from old novels. It took 2 weeks before Leela spoke. "Leela," she said quietly one afternoon, when Grace asked her name. "That's a pretty name," Grace replied. "Do you remember how you got here?" Leela shook her head. "The lady said she'd come back." "Your mom?" Leela nodded. She had red hair. She was scared. Grace's throat tightened. She gently changed the subject. From that point on, Grace became Leela's anchor. She brought clean clothes, food, even a sleeping bag. She cleaned the porch and fixed the door hinges. She taught Leela to braid her hair and showed her how to light a candle with a match. They laughed for the first time together when a squirrel ran across the porch and stole an apple right out of Grace's hand. But Grace knew this couldn't go on forever. One evening, she sat beside Leela and said, "You can't stay here, sweetie. It's not safe. Someone needs to help you." "Don't want to go away," Leela whispered. "They'll take me." "Who?" "People. Like they did to Mia." Grace's stomach dropped. "Who's Mia?" "My friend. From before. They put her in a white room. She cried a lot. Then they made her leave." Grace realized then that Leela had probably been in foster care, or something close to it. And she'd been left behind, forgotten. Or worse, hidden. She made a decision that night. The next day, Grace went to her mother, who worked at the county's family services office. "There's a girl," she said, voice trembling. "She needs help. But not the kind that takes her away. She needs someone who'll actually care." Her mother listened carefully, asked questions, then made a call. By sunset, a social worker and 2 officers arrived at the house on Sparrow Street. Grace stayed beside Leela the whole time, holding her hand. "It's okay," Grace whispered. "You're not alone anymore." Leela was placed with a kind woman named Clara, who had 2 cats and a garden full of sunflowers. She let Leela paint her room blue and hang bird drawings on the wall. She cooked pancakes with smiley faces and didn't ask too many questions. Clara opening her home's front door, bathed in warm yellow light. Leela stepping into a clean room with soft bedding and sunflower wallpaper. Clara handing Leela a bowl of soup at a kitchen table. But it was hard at first. Leela had nightmares. She didn't speak for days. She wet the bed and flinched at loud noises. But Clara didn't flinch. She simply sat beside her and waited. And Grace visited every week. Sometimes they drew pictures together. Sometimes they sat in silence. But Leela began to smile again. She wore new clothes, gained weight, and learned to say thank you without looking down. One day, Clara handed her a small box. Inside was a new music box. When Leela turned the key, it played a soft lullaby. She cried for the first time in months. Years passed. Leela grew taller, stronger. Her eyes still held storms, but now they held stars too. She went to school, made friends, and joined an art club. She painted birds on every surface she could find. Grace and Leela walking together, laughing, with autumn leaves falling around them, Clara clapping as Leela wins an art competition. Leela planting sunflower seeds in Clara's garden. On her 16th birthday, Grace gave her a scrapbook. Inside were photos of them on the porch, letters they had written to each other, and a drawing Leela had once made of a house with the sun above it. "You saved me," Leela whispered. Grace smiled. "You saved yourself. I just knocked." And on quiet nights, when the world was soft and still, Leela would sometimes stare out the window, just like she used to. But now, she looked out not with fear, but with wonder. Because she knew what it meant to be seen. And never again would she be invisible.